speakers. We are so thankful to be able to hear their stories and to learn from their experiences. Logan Crick is going to present their story today, and I cannot wait to hear what Logan has to say. Next slide, or to Logan.
Hi, I'm Logan Crick, and when COVID started, I was a cisgendered heterosexual girl. Now I'm a pansexual trans masc who uses he, they pronouns. It's very surprising, like all the events that had happened, because most people only talk about the bad, but there are some good things that did happen, although it's not really touched on as much. But before COVID happened, my mental health wasn't the best. I was struggling, but I knew that it wasn't to the point where I actively sought out help. During my freshman year, I started questioning things about myself, my sexuality specifically. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression and had friends, but not very many good ones, and I still felt like an outsider. Nothing I did really felt like the right response. My sophomore year, I figured out that I was bisexual and I had found some new friends. I even got in my first relationship. However, then COVID hit and I isolated myself because I didn't know what else to do. I lost all my friends. I got broken up with over text, nonetheless, and was really struggling in all my classes. My parents had both kind of shut down, and so I felt like I had to take care of my siblings. And so I did that. I cooked them meals, I put them to bed. Sometimes I'd wake them up and I made sure they did some schoolwork. I didn't like micromanage them and make them do all of their homework because I still had to focus on my schoolwork. And then I started questioning my gender and sexuality again. I was trying to find myself and keep everyone else afloat, and it was a very lonely experience. I had started social media just that year, and I was trying to find validation from people who I didn't even know like where they lived. I had one friend that I really talked to a lot, but eventually that friendship grew toxic, and I realized that they weren't really helping me, they were actually hurting me. I came out as gender fluid and as Logan on social media, and I hadn't told my family because I was still trying to accept and understand it myself. However, I did forget that a good amount of my family members followed me on Instagram, which was where I like changed my name and everything. And one of them told my parents, and this was very detrimental. It caused me to go down like 3 different steps, like I was spiraling. Something that's very important is coming out is something that the person who it affects, like it's very important. There's a movie called Love, Simon, and Simon was outed by someone who was trying to blackmail him, and he says, I'm supposed to be the one that decides when and where and how and who knows and how I get to say it. That's supposed to be my thing, and you took that away from me. These are honestly some of the most true words I've ever heard, because coming out as who you are, you should be able to decide. You should be able to tell the people who you want to know. You should be able to hide it from people like who you just aren't ready to tell yet. But I unfortunately did not have this opportunity. And it kind of took like everything away from me. I didn't have any more sense of security. I kind of felt like everything was just gone. I had gotten TikTok a little earlier that year, and I used that as a way to boost my confidence because I have pretty crippling self-doubt. And it was really nice to have that because a lot of people who were on TikTok did like support me. And so I felt I had a place to get away, even though like my real life was not the best. Something that I do want to touch on is that a lot of people like to interchangeably use sex and gender. And I want to put it out right now that Gender is very different from sex, and sex is biological. It's like y, X and Y chromosomes, and then gender is who you are, who you identify as. It's can be the same, and it also cannot be. And it's kind of hurt. It really hurts when people try to use them as the same thing as a way to attack someone. I knew that hate was a part of coming out and I was prepared for that, but I wasn't prepared for the hate that would come from people I didn't expect. There was a lot of people who didn't accept me, and I lost a bunch of friends when I came out. I got reprimanded by a bunch of people, and I even got told that I was going to go to hell because of my sexuality and my gender expression. This went on for a long time and nothing really changed. And then school started, and I made some friends that I could talk to in classes, but I knew I wouldn't stay friends with them for very long, and things kept getting worse. And then one day it just became all too much. And on October 27th of 2020, almost a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I attempted to end my life. And I realized what I had done before it went too far, and I got help. Reaching out was honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I've just never had to reach out in that way before. I've like always like needed some help on like schoolwork or something, but reaching out for something that you can't really change was terrifying. And I really just didn't want to burden people. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to bring them down. And I thought I could handle it myself. But it turns out I didn't. And getting help was one of the most important things ever. And more people, we need to destigmatize it, because that's one of the main reasons why people don't get help. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being called like psycho and crazy, because they don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that people do understand what you're going through. And honestly, even though COVID was one of the worst experiences ever, I probably wouldn't change most of it, because it's helped me figure out who I am. I learned how to be more confident in myself. I learned to express myself unapologetically. And I've also learned how to deal with hate, which is something that pretty much wherever you go, you're going to have to deal with. And so even though those hardships are something that will never be taken away and I will always have with me, and some of those like I didn't really have to experience, I'm really glad that I did.
Logan,